So we are at Olympic National Park and we're actually in the Hoh Rainforest right now at a campground. And in this video, I'm just going to be taking you with us on our 4-day itinerary of Olympic National Park. So let's get started on the journey. Our first stop in Olympic National Park is the Staircase Rapids Trail, which is on the far southeast corner of the park and about a 3-hour drive from Vancouver, Washington / Portland area. They also have a first come, first serve campground here right next to the trail. And the Staircase Rapids Trail is an easy 2-mile loop trail with beautiful scenery of the trees and rapids. Here there was a sign and we weren't sure which way to go at first, but we went towards the 4-stream area and walked along this trail for probably about a mile or so before eventually turning back around and getting back on the Rapids Nature Trail. All right, now the trail is getting pretty overgrown here and we're just gonna decide to turn on back now. We're running a little short on time. We want to make it to our campground to be sure to get a spot. So we're turning back around. All right, we're back now to where the trail diverges and now we're gonna go to the trail bridge and continue the Staircase Rapids loop. This was a pretty cool trail overall and definitely worth it if you stay at the campground because it's so close. But otherwise, if you are short on time, then you could probably skip this one as there are other hikes that I enjoyed more. For our first night of camping, we stayed at the Heart of the Hills campground, which has 105 campsites, all of which are first come, first serve. The cost is $24, which you pay electronically, and yeah, I didn't see a place to pay with cash. We arrived here on a Thursday during the last week of August, and there were quite a lot of spots available. Here we are just driving around to see a spot. And some of the spots are pretty small, which you'll see our campsite in a minute. But overall, this was a really nice campground and really quiet in the evening. Here we are at the Heart of the Hills campground. We are in Loop C. We found a little camp spot here. Some of the spots are really small. As you can see here, there's the fire pit, the table, and then our tent. And we have a 3-person tent there, but this spot was really nice and secluded. You really can't see many other campers all around, and it's pretty close to the bathroom. Even across the way, it's just pretty hidden and secluded. So I think we found a pretty good little spot here, and we're gonna get ready for a hike. Here is the trash dumping area as well as the bathrooms. They also have a dishwashing station, which we use and was nice to have. And this is where you do the campground registration. The bathrooms have flush toilets and double sinks with a mirror. Another thing to note is that actually none of the campgrounds within Olympic National Park or even close to it have any showers. So that's just something to keep in mind if you're doing a longer trip, that none of the campgrounds have showers. At Hurricane Ridge, we first parked at the main visitor center parking area, and there are several short and easy trails here. We went to the Overlook area and the Cirque Rim Trail, which is just a half a mile one way. After that, we drove about a mile and a half down Hurricane Hill Road to the parking area for the Hurricane Hill Trail. So here's the parking lot for the Hurricane Hill Trailhead. And we're gonna start on the hike. This is about a 3.5 mile hike. We spent about 3 hours here in total at Hurricane Ridge. We got to the Visitor Center around 6 p.m. The hike was 3.5 miles long with 700 feet of elevation gain. At the top, we took lots of photos and videos and really enjoyed the sunset without feeling rushed. We got back to the car around 9 p.m. and then back to our campground before 9:30 p.m. This Hurricane Hill Trail was my favorite hiking experience of the whole trip, and I highly recommend doing a sunset hike as the views are just incredible. The trail is also paved for I think almost the whole trail, so when hiking back down after sunset, it was easy to do as it started getting a little darker. Day 2, we packed up camp and drove through Port Angeles to the Storm King Ranger Station near Lake Crescent, which is the location for the Mount Storm King hike, as well as the Marymere Falls Trail. We got a little bit later start this morning, so we only had time to hike Mount Storm King. But if you have the time, definitely plan to hike Marymere Waterfalls as well, as the trail is not too much further past the Mount Storm King turnoff. Mount Storm King is a difficult 5.4 mile summit hike with 1,700 feet of elevation gain. Towards the end of the trail, maybe about the last mile or so, the trail is unmaintained and there are several sections where you rope climb, which was actually pretty fun. And this was definitely the hardest hike that we did on this trip, but the views were incredible and so worth it. We are at the top of the mountain. Not gonna lie, it's a little scary. There's the Lake Crescent. We did it. After we got down from the top, we also had a late lunch here, and all in all spent about 4 hours from the start of parking at the ranger station to the finish where we drove away from the park and then headed to our campground for the night. Okay, so we are now actually at the Lyre River Campground. It's a primitive campground with 11 spots, and we're just gonna set up here for tonight, and let me show you our little camp spot. The Lyre River Campground is a first-come, first-served primitive campground that is free with a Washington Discover Pass. It has drinking water, a day-use picnic area, and 2 vault toilets. Day 3, we drove to Lake Crescent to hike the Spruce Railroad Trail and see Devil's Punch Bowl. Here is the parking lot area. There is also a vault toilet here, but be sure to bring your own toilet paper in case they're out, as well as some hand sanitizer. I recommend getting here in the morning as the parking lot gets pretty full, and also there are just more people out by the Devil's Punch Bowl later in the day. It took us about 30 minutes to do the walk to Devil's Punch Bowl. After that, we found a little beach spot by the lake off the trail and spent about 2 to 2.5 hours here in total with the hike as well. And the water was just so crystal clear and blue and so beautiful. After that, we headed towards Forks and then the Hoh Rainforest, where we first went to the Minnie Peterson Campground, which is another primitive first come, first served campground with about 10 campsites, I think, and is also free with a Washington Discover Pass. This was definitely a nicer campground than the Lyre River campground in my opinion, and was very quiet and peaceful. Day 4, we drove to the Hoh Rainforest Park entrance, which was about 25 minutes away from the campground. During the peak summer season, you can expect about a 1 to 2 hour wait for parking at the entrance from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. We got to the entrance around 10:15 a.m. and waited for 30 minutes. The first little hike we did was the Hall of Mosses, which is about a 1-mile loop trail, really beautiful, full of mossy trees and ferns. Next, we did the Hoh River Trail, and we walked till we got to the first river access, which is about 1 mile into the trail. The river was really beautiful, and then we turned back around because we wanted to get to our next campground early enough. After leaving the rainforest, we headed to the beach, but first we stopped at this adventure store called Ch.6, which was right along the way, and they had some great souvenirs and lots of awesome t-shirts. After having dinner at the Mora campground, we drove 5 minutes to Rialto Beach to hike the Hole-in-the-Wall trail. This is a 3.4 mile there and back trail that must be done at low tide in order to see the iconic hole-in-the-wall as well as the tide pools. So be sure to look at the tides for your specific day you want to do this hike. Basically, there's a low tide in the morning and a low tide in the evening, and we chose to do the evening low tide so that we could also catch the sunset. On our last day here, we did the hike to 2nd Beach, which is 2 miles there and back. There is a portable bathroom at the start of the trail, and no dogs are allowed on this trail. This was a fun and easy hike through a jungle, and then you arrive to a beautiful beach. We packed a lunch with us and enjoyed a beautiful sunny beach day. On our drive back home, we decided to take a look at Kalaloch Campground just to see what it looks like. This is a very large campground with 170 total sites that are reservable during the peak season and first come, first serve in the off season. The cost is $24 per night. The bathrooms look very similar to the other national park campgrounds with flush toilets and potable water. If you enjoyed watching this video, please give it a like, and thanks so much for watching.